So let me introduce our distinguished guests. I almost said extinguished guests. Our distinguished guests. First, to my immediate right is Kimberly Stern. She's an '06 grad of our program, got her MBA in 13 here at CSU, and she says she's been keeping Colorado State University, quote, social since 2009. As the Director of Social and Digital Media here at CSU, she and her team strategically communicate across 10 platforms, including Facebook and Snapchat and really all the rest, reaching more than 500,000 people around the globe daily. Their team philosophy is listen deeply, share meaningfully, and build community across every platform. And she and her social team just earned the coveted Webby Award for their work with Dr. Temple Grandin on Reddit. The Webbies are essentially the Oscars or the Pulitzer of the web. So if you can win one of those, that would be a great thing. And here she is with her communication team holding the Webby Award. Okay. And just for fun, here they are holding the Webby Award while going along on a longboard or a skateboard.
Yeah. Sure.
CSU social media, by winning this award, they're right up there with Mashable, BuzzFeed, Apple, and Grumpy Cat. And that's the Grumpy Cat. I got to make sure we're clear on that. Kimberly was also named to BizWest's 2015 40 Under 40 list, recognizing the best of the best in Northern Colorado. So Kimberly, welcome to you. Our next guest is Teresa Ramey. She's a '07 graduate of our master's program. I got the good fortune to be her chair on her committee for that. She is now the manager of internal communications the last couple of years with Ball Aerospace, mostly located in the Boulder area. They're the manufacturer of spacecraft components and instruments for national defense, civil space, and commercial space applications. And as you can see right there, she gets to have images like this on the slide that introduces her, which I think is way cool. She started as a summer intern at Ball back in 2004, eventually worked her way up to be hired full-time, and then eventually she led a project to start a new intranet site for employees. Intranet meaning sort of within as opposed to internet. And this was very popular and has been really well received. It's something called the front page. And essentially it's when we talk about symmetrical communications, and we'll be talking about public relations quite a little bit later in this semester. You've got the company communicating to the employees, but then you've got to have a way for the employees to communicate back to the company. And this is a space that allows for that to happen, and it's real cutting edge. It's been so successful over the past 3 years that Teresa and her team won the prestigious Reagan Award for Best Employee Engagement, and I believe you won that 3 years in a row now.
We've won Reagan Awards. That employee engagement one was just last year.
Yeah, and this was just last year, but that's really one of the big ones. So people are looking to see. Oh, and this is a shot of her team around the time they won the Reagan Award. She did point out that they didn't win the car. So we can ask about that later. And our next guest is Jane Dvorak. She's an '83 grad here of CSU in our program. She's the owner of JKD and Company, 30 years of award-winning experience in strategic planning, public relations, and project implementation. In 2017, she will serve, this is a big deal, as chair of the Public Relations Society of America, PRSA. She's also a fellow of PRSA, and there's only, 3% of the members actually get to be a fellow, so this is a really big deal. In 2011, she won the Silver Anvil Award, the PR Industry's Pulitzer, their highest award. Received, now this is interesting, for a social media campaign for a plumbing company, which shows, you don't have to be, doing something for the Denver Broncos to do something that makes a big splash. So that was pretty cool. She wrote, "Who would have thought?" And then she also took home not one, but 2 grand gold PIC awards in May, essentially tying herself. 2 separate programs, one for a French fry restaurant, so there's some real benefits there, and also another for a campaign for Chief Medical Officer for the Sochi Olympics, which is really cool. So this is really great diversity. And she's got a list of 12, 15, 100 other awards, and I'm not going to go through those. Jane, welcome. Here she is winning the Silver Anvil. Okay. So here's how this is going to work. I'm just going to start off asking some questions, but listen up and reflect a little bit, and then I'd like you to start asking questions as well. Anything that you'd like to ask of these panelists. And this is what I asked actually the last group that we talked with. We'll start with Kim Stern because you're closest to me.
Sure.
Did you think when you were sitting in this class that one day you would be sitting on a panel because you were such a fabulous award winner in the field? Did you really think that this would happen? Go ahead.
Absolutely. I knew it. Joe, I did. No, not at all. I think that my experience here at CSU and in the journalism department really framed up where I am today in my career. The relationships with faculty and my peers in my class have just been instrumental to really networking to be where I am right now as the director of social media here at CSU. Well, is that?
Well, one thing I'm going to say before you pass it along to Teresa that
Yes.
we didn't really know in '06 what the internet would become.
Right. So in right. Who knew, right? So in '06, I graduated from CSU, and I was brought in full-time on the university's public relations team. I had been an intern on that team for 2 years as a student here, and then I was very fortunate to land a job right after graduating. And honestly, how I got into social media for the university was simply that I was the youngest person on the PR team and knew what the Facebook was. And so, and really since then, it just has taken off. I mean, social media was only a very small part of my job when I originally started, because that was just a small way of how society communicated at the time. But really in 2009 is when it really, Facebook was open to people without, outside of the college and campus communities. So since then, it's been awesome. So now I get to be on Facebook for my job all day and Snapchat, and I have an amazing team. And if you guys don't follow CSU on social media, please do it. We have we try and do some good, innovative, dynamic content for you guys. If you guys are on Facebook, if you're not, Snapchat. I'm actually just really curious, who is, just a survey because I'm interested, who is on Facebook? Wow, so a lot more, because everyone's like, nobody uses Facebook anymore. Okay, that's good to see. And then how about Snapchat? Aha. Okay, so if you don't follow Colorado State U on Snapchat yet, you're doing it wrong. Follow it, Colorado State U. And bonus, pro tip, follow Cam the Ram on Snapchat. CSU Cam the Ram. You won't regret it.
Teresa, I guess I'm asking, was it a surprise, your trajectory from this class to what you're doing now?
Yeah, so I actually didn't have this exact class. My background was a little bit different. I got my undergraduate in biology, and I was interested in natural resources and science, and by the time I had completed that, I knew I wanted to write, and I wanted to do some kind of science writing, and that's what led me to pursue a master's degree here at CSU in, at the time it was technical communication, and that curiosity about science was a pretty natural fit to working at Ball, because a lot of the programs that we're involved in are with NASA, and things like the Hubble Space Telescope, the New Horizons program that you heard about over the summer. We were involved in that. So there was kind of a natural tie-in for me, and that's how I ended up there. But no, sitting in a lecture hall my freshman year, would I have imagined this? No. But being open to things was really important, and probably how I ended up here.
I don't do anything as cool as these two people. I just want you to know that. I work in the corner of my basement, which is what I have done for 26 years, and it's awesome. 13 stairs to commute. It's perfect. No traffic. My kids have grown up. No more toys to maneuver around. Did I expect to be sitting here or to proudly be telling you that I will be the next chair-elect of PRSA on a national level? Heck no, and I'm sure Dan Lattimore, who was my advisor when I was here at CSU, is going to be shaking his head at the international conference come November in Atlanta. But crazy things happen, and stars align, and things work your way. So what I would tell you is, how did I get to sit here? It's because I was sitting there. And to Teresa's point, just being open to the possibilities, and that's how a plumber can make you win awards. One would never think that a plumber could be that cool, but they really are. And so if you see orange Applewood plumbing trucks, you don't see them so much up here in Fort Collins, but if you're down in Denver, you will. There's about 80 of them running around the town every day. But I've handled their communications for going close to onto a decade now. And so making differences for small businesses is just as awesome, just as impactful as doing really cool things with NASA. And spaceships and major universities and impacting thousands of people. But so don't limit. What I would tell you is your education here is to teach you how not to limit your thinking. And when you do that, you can end up in amazing places, talking to hundreds of kids in a lecture hall that I'm glad to see does not have the same seats I was sitting in, which I do over in Clark. They're the same seats, I know they are. So I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited that you all are looking at PR as a option or communications in whatever road or path you take.
Well, that kind of leads to, I guess we'll give it to Kim. Yeah, well, give it, maybe Kim. Okay. Kim Stern. And jump in with questions, but that kind of leads to a question here. And that is, a lot of people in this room are not necessarily going into communication and public relations, but one thing we have been talking about is that eventually you will be hiring people who do that. You'll be working with people who do that. You may become that, you don't realize that. Is that kind of what you found, that it's good to have good communication skills all the way through the vertical and horizontal aspects of the institution?
Yes. I think being an effective communicator can go a long way, no matter if you're interested in science, right, like Teresa is, or if you are more interested in business. Knowing how you can storytell can go a long way. In my position and what we do, it's not journalism or communications in a traditional sense of how are we using 6-second looping videos on Vine to tell a message about the university. So being able to think through, what's your goal with your message, and what's the delivery mechanism that you're going to use to distribute that key communication is huge. I use it every single day on our team.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree that, storytelling is something that we talk about all the time, and it's not just within our communication group at Ball Aerospace. In fact, we have another whole business unit that builds sensors and antennas for tactical systems, mainly for the military. And they've had the most success in really understanding what their customer's problem is, and then being able to tell the story of how we would fix it. And we're not even involved in that, but it's a good example of how being able to tell a story, no matter what you do in your career, it can be really helpful.
I'm going to ask you, how do you help, say, scientists and engineers? Again, not to stereotype scientists and engineers that are in this room, but I come from a science and engineering family, so I really took the other road. Is it difficult sometimes? Do you want to just pull your hair out, or do they always just get it right off?
No. But the problem is that they think they do. And so, yes. Yeah, and they're so smart. So it's really trying to remind them who the audience is for what they're doing, and being able to bring what they're communicating back to that. Even for an internal audience, a lot of times, we're talking with program managers or engineers, and I have to say, wait. We have to actually explain this to the admins on the team, to the people working in finance. Not everyone has the technical background. So whether it's for internal or external, you're always having to think about, well, who's reading this, and will they get it? So.
I'm married to an engineer who graduated from CSU. He thinks I do advertising. I've got another 30 years with him to get him to figure it out. But what I would tell you is that you need to make sure that not only your communications allows you to tell a good story, but understand how you connect that story. the connection to whoever that audience or market or person is. And that's how what I didn't know when I sat in the seats you're sitting in is that community relations would be such a beautiful place for me and where I could really shine with my skill set and talents and passions. But to really understand that connection between the story and then making the person who's hearing it, seeing it, reading it, however they're engaging, peeking at a Snapchat, to be able to resonate with whatever that is, so that you're beginning to develop relationships, and that's what public relations is really about. But in general, I think it's becoming across the board, communications is about relations and relationships. So using your communication skill set is going to be a way for you to be able to communicate and build those kinds of member bases for an association or customer bases for a company or patient bases, whatever it might be, vendors that are going to be coming to you for your programs and those kinds of things. It's that kind of connection that makes the story valuable to whoever's going to be receiving it.
Anybody have any questions? I've got millions of questions. Yeah, right here.
When you guys started college, did you know that you wanted to pursue public relations? I know you said you had a different undergrad, but like when did you realize that that's the career you wanted to go into?
I knew that when I came into CSU that I wanted to be in the journalism program. I wasn't really familiar with PR, the industry just coming in, but in high school I was on my school's yearbook staff and really enjoyed it. So I knew I loved to tell stories, and it was going through courses here at CSU did I realize, oh, PR is the right fit for me, because it's still taking that journalistic training and then just applying it in a different way. So it took me a couple semesters to figure it out, but yeah, I'm happy that I did.
I'd say it took me a while to figure out. I mean, I got to the end of my senior year, and I had originally started in biology because, at that time I was interested in like veterinary science or physical therapy. Those are my interests, and I made it through the biology degree, and I enjoyed the coursework, but by the end I liked more of the natural resources stuff I was doing, and so my interests sort of evolved. And when I was trying to figure out what I really wanted to do, I looked back at, where did I feel like I had some natural aptitude? What did I actually really enjoy doing? And the courses where I was doing a lot of writing actually came to mind, and that's how I decided that that's what I wanted to pursue next. And I was pretty open in my idea about that. I mean, it was anything from PR to like magazine writing, and I'm glad I ended up in sort of more the public relations corporate world, but it was not something I decided like when I was a freshman in college, that's for sure.
I did. Actually, I didn't. Tom Bright, get this, junior high, which is what we called it in my day, middle school, counselor was the one who deemed that I should be a PR pro, and he's in heaven now and probably snickering up there, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. I only knew that I wanted to go to a bona fide 4-year college and be the first one in my family to graduate. And my high school counselor didn't believe I had the aptitude to do that. I wish I could find her today. But I was bound and determined, and he really took the time to do some soul searching with me on my aptitudes, where I shined, and English was a place that I was a rock star in high school. And so we parlayed that into what the heck can you do with English, and he's the one who found public relations based on some other aptitude tests that I had taken in career searches and research, and said, well, you got 3 choices back in that day. We had CU, which, that's not a choice. And then there was DU, and well, that cost too much money, so that really wasn't a choice. And oh, thank you, God, because CSU said, yes, you can come to school here. So I started in the PR track from the very beginning. I've stayed in the PR track. I'm going to retire in the PR track. And I'm much closer to that last part than I wish to admit. But it's been an amazing career for me and an amazing choice by Mr. Tom Bright. So I'm grateful for forever.
Other questions? Anything? Yeah.
I have a question for Kimberly specifically.
Sure.
With social media, how do you decide what gets posted where? And like, what do you see as the differences between the platforms like Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter?
Yeah, that's a great question. So if everyone didn't hear it, he was asking, how do we decide what messages go on which platforms? It changes daily of like what is happening on campus that we feel like needs a social amplification. How we really view social from a strategic perspective is that we look at the platform, who is the audience on that platform, and then what is the like fan behavior and how they interact with that platform. So on Facebook, we have, the university has over 100,000 fans on our Facebook page, which is awesome. Obviously, there's a great core here in Fort Collins and being our student body, but then there are thousands of alumni around the nation and the world who also connect back to the university on Facebook. So we kind of think of, you know, what is something that's going to be interesting to kind of like a broad appeal, right, on our Facebook page. Sometimes we do skew more to a student perspective because in my head, you know, our current students, we need to inform them and interact with them on social on a daily basis. So we tailor our messages to hopefully hit that will resonate with current students, and then it's kind of gravy if it also applies to alumni. But so I would say Facebook, kind of broad appeal. Snapchat is very, very much so current students only, maybe some prospective students. We can be a little bit edgier there, a little bit sassier, because that's what the platform is like anyway. That's how users interact with it. Twitter, it's a news cycle, right? I mean, you can tweet all day long. So that's kind of Chase on my team. He's our Twitter guy, and he's just at it all day long. So if you tag at Colorado State U, even with something, if you take a picture here, he will see it and he might retweet it. Maybe he'll get a retweet from CSU. But it really, we look at our audience. What is our audience? What's their behavior? And then what's going on holistically from the institution that we feel like we need to be messaging really intentionally with our various audiences. It's very it's unscientific, but it's definitely strategic. We don't just put out stuff to put out stuff.
Yeah. Go ahead.
What would you say is like the best way to get your foot in the door and like in that first internship and just kind of get started?
How do you get started is what she was asking.
You call me. I've had interns for 26 years, and I've had a number of CSU kids. I have some from that other school, too. I'm harder on them. What I would tell you is if there's a company that you're interested in, then you call them, and you start working through their PR contacts is what I would do. The best way to make an internship work for you is to really be able to invest from a working, contributing point of view. So, and what I would also tell all of you is don't worry about having 15 of them. I get kids who apply to my internship that have had 5 and they want 1 more. It's like, really? You have a better portfolio than I do. So what I would encourage you to do is, 1, don't worry about what you don't know. Worry about what you're capable of. From an internship perspective, that's for you people who are going to be applying for jobs in a few years. But from an internship perspective, we know you don't know anything. That's why you're having an internship. So to come in and tell me how much you know and you can contribute to my company, which is in the corner of my basement, we eat sandwiches in the kitchen, you know. We don't dress up. I look very nice today, but my computer doesn't normally care. And so you need to be able to tell them what you want to learn and why you want to be able to learn that with them. And I don't know if other internship people interview that way. Maybe Teresa can speak to that from a corporate perspective. But and I also wouldn't worry about so much that you've got to have it from the biggest, brightest agency, the biggest, brightest, you know, hoo-ha company in town. Experience is experience. So if you're not getting an internship, one that's paid, and by God, they better be paid. Please try not to work for free. They should be paying you. You're working. I won't go on that soapbox. But if you're going to work for free, do it as a volunteer. There are many organizations and nonprofits out there that will give you the opportunity to work, and that experience is no less valuable than the experience in a paid internship. So those are great opportunities to go to broaden your exposure and experience. I would also tell you to try and look at internships that either test you or push your comfort zone, i.e. try a corporate one and try an agency one. You may think you want to work at a big agency, but corporate may be the place that you really want to end up. You may want to work in a corporate setting, but really what happens is nonprofit really resonates with your ability to multitask. So exposing your internship opportunities to many differences across your collegiate career. And the final thing that I would tell you is you need to network now. If you are a freshman in this room, you need to network now. You need to be in PRSSA, and that's not just because I'm going to be chair-elect of PRSA, that's sort of it. But I can tell you that I still have mentors from my experience in your clubs and organizations that you have here as undergrads. Use those to build your network now, and that will get you the internship, that will get you the job when you graduate. If you are not networking throughout your entire collegiate career, you're behind the 8 ball. And our market is definitely an employer's market.
I have hired a few interns, and one thing I would say, well, for us at Ball, we generally hire junior level up to graduate level. So, now, if you're a freshman, now's your time to start working on gaining that experience. Every application that I've considered, they have some kind of portfolio and some kind of experience to show. The most recent one I hired was very involved here at CSU with student media, and that gave her a lot of great experience. She had some good writing samples. I mean, even things that you're doing in your classes, I mean, you want to work hard to get the grade, but you want to make those perfect so that you can put those in your portfolio and have something to point back to that shows really what you can do. And yeah, I totally agree. If you can get a lot of experience just by volunteering for any number of nonprofits, and anything you have on your resume that's related to what you're trying to get will help you so much. And then that internship can help you tremendously with whatever comes next.
Okay, there's a question right here from your shirt. Yeah.
What advice would you give to someone pursuing PR?
What advice would we give to?
Someone pursuing PR as a career.
Go for it. Why are you waiting? I mean, if you want advice, it's a fabulous career, and it's a career that's so diverse. The beauty of all of you sitting in this room, your parents don't really know the beauty of that, but the beauty is, as a communications degree, you have so many roads and lanes on a highway to travel down throughout your career as a result of this degree. You can end up in a true, pure public relations position. You can end up as a business owner that is driving something amazing within our community. You can go down political ways. You can become pure writing. You can do collateral. You can do digital now. I mean, the beauty of this degree is that you really have no limitations in where you can go with it. And that's why earlier when I said keep your mind open to the possibilities, really that is what it's all about, in being able to accept those opportunities as they emerge and to capitalize on them from your communications experience and background. As a true, and I'm very much a very pure, old school PR gal. What I can tell you is I have worked with amazing groups of people and companies, and I have never worked in the corporate sector, but I've worked with corporations as a counselor. I'm very strategic at this point, but at one point in my career, I was very tactical. I did 9 newsletters at one point, back when we had PageMaker. I know, and that was new technology. That's the scary part. You people are doing all this stuff that I did when I was like 10 years into my career in the lab. But understanding how you fit and where you fit. I wouldn't worry. The other thing that I would tell you about a career in PR is don't worry about finding your dream job. This is my soapbox too. You don't even know what that dream job is. You aren't going to know what it is 4 years from now when you graduate. Get a job. That's all you need. That's all your mom and dad want. Get a job. But the beauty in that is that your first job will probably really take you down a path to your dream job. I would not be where I am today if I had not worked at the American Heart Association. That is where I learned about community relations. That is where I learned how to take my strategic ability from a tactical sense and parlay that into my ability to be a counselor to businesses now. So without that experience, I would, because when I graduated, I was going to be a media maven. I was going to be the hottest, coolest thing pitching, here today and tomorrow. I'm here to tell you that's the least of what I do on a day in, day out basis, and I'm grateful. So take your PR career whatever direction it takes you, but it's a blessing, it's a gift, and every day is different. And for me, it's energizing and it's fun. I'm all about fun. Kimberly knows that. But if you can't have fun at what you're doing for 30 plus years, poke your eyeballs out and find something else. So.
Well, lots of questions. Kristen?
What are the challenges each of you face in your careers?
Main challenges?
I'm thinking.
I'm just being a smart
What technology is a challenge?
Oh.
Does that help at all? It's just changing so fast.
Yeah, certainly keeping up with everything that has changed even since, I was in school. That's a challenge, but that's also really exciting. It's fun to see where we can use that. I would say actually the challenge along with that for a business like ours is that, at Ball Aerospace, we're not a consumer company. We sell mainly to the U.S. government. So we have to really decide how and when using like social channels really makes sense. I mean, we certainly use those because we need to be there too, but really trying to understand how to leverage that with our customers and make sure, are we even reaching any of them? That's certainly a challenge.
It's because you're really facing this every day.
Yeah, so I think for me, the challenge has been showing the value, like how do you show your boss's boss the value of communication? How does communication contribute to the bottom line for your organization? For me, I had to really show my boss the value of social and how I couldn't do it alone. I need more people to help me. So that really it was a challenge, but then also became my great opportunity to really shine and show the impact that the work I was doing in the social space really influenced and moved the needle for the university. And I'm very grateful for the senior leadership here at CSU saw it. And they're like, okay, this social media thing is definitely a powerful tool that's here to stay. So we're going to decide to invest in growing this team because we know that communicating with core audiences, right? So prospective students, current students, alumni is essential for how the university will continue to be relevant and thrive in the future. And for me, it was kind of all just kind of came, my career really does follow the path of social media, of the rise of social media and how it's now an essential, even, as Teresa was saying, Ball's using it to figure out how they can communicate with their B2B customers, that type of thing. But for CSU, the biggest challenge and opportunity was showing how it made a difference, for sure.
We got a question up here. We got a few more minutes. Someone up there, a question. Yeah, go ahead.
What is it like to work in an industry that changes like every single day? Like, is the information you learned in college like still applicable like every single day to your job now?
Just real quickly, you know what? Yes, because I think, in my opinion, it all comes down to writing and storytelling. And then it goes from there. So it doesn't really matter where that's going, like if it's going on social media, if it's going on a website, if it's a print piece, it's that. Or if you're putting together a video product, it's still the same skill set. And so everything you learned is core. It just keeps evolving where you're putting it and how you're making that up.
Exactly. I'll echo that, but what I would also say is that that's energizing, and looking at new ways and new tools that we can continue to reach out to our publics. And that is exciting. On a day in, day out basis, that makes you want to get up to go to work. It's not the same every day. And that, at least for me, some of you may be going, well, you know, because there are engineers out there that like patterns and systems. I'm married to one and birthed one too, so I know. But I think you need to be able to look at those as opportunities and really as a way for you to be able to just test your skills one more time and to continue to learn, to be a lifelong learner. If you're going to be in PR, you better be a lifelong learner because there's such opportunity to expand and grow.
I think we have time for one more question. But yes, John.
This question is specifically for Teresa. Do you work with any companies such as Boeing in collaborations with NASA?
Yes, absolutely. So Ball Aerospace is an interesting sized company. We're kind of a mid-size aerospace company compared to the behemoths like Boeing, Northrop Grumman, and Lockheed Martin. And so it's a really interesting position because we actually refer to those other companies as competimates because in some situations we're competing directly against them, and in others they're our partners or even our customers. So we're kind of in the middle, and so it's from a PR perspective, it's always an interesting position to be in because we may be wanting to put out a news release, but we're having to look at what impacts would that have, and who needs to look at it, who needs to approve it, who needs to be on board, and it's usually many. so yeah, we do. It just depends on what type of interaction we have.
I think that's all the time, but I want to end by saying that you guys have won some huge awards, the Webby, the Reagan, the Silver Eagle, and other things. But we want to leave you with something that's even more meaningful, and that is the CSU mug. I mean, everyone's going to want this someday. So it says their name, it says when they graduated, the year now, proud to call you a CSU Ram, and of course we have a pewter ram on one side. Greg, that's for pewter. If I could speak for all the professors they've ever had, we are very proud of them. And hopefully one day you will be up here on a panel session like this, sharing your wisdom. See you next week.